Next, please.
Item number 5, rezoning, plan development, First Amendment, townhomes at Tuscany Woods, RPUD, DEV 2014-034, quasi-judicial hearing.
Thank you very much. Can we hear from staff, please?
Thank you. Dennis Mrozek, planner with the City of Daytona Beach. The next item is a request by Colleen Miles, Land Development Resource Group, on behalf of Stanley Makovsky, Tuscany Townhome Builders, LLC, to amend the existing plan development agreement for property located at 196, 200, 204, and 208 Terracina Way, to amend the minimum front setback requirement from 25 feet to 20 feet. I just want to give you a general location of where the plan development is located. It's generally located south of Strickland Range Road, approximately a quarter mile east of Clyde Morris Boulevard. There is a map showing you that the lots that are subject to the setback reduction request. An aerial for you showing current conditions. As a matter of fact, this shows you, I think this is a pretty up-to-date aerial showing you there are 3 buildings built within that subdivision. The future land use is level 1 residential, and the zoning of the property is RPUD. As for the proposed RPUD amendment, this is the first amendment for this particular PD. The request would reduce the front setback from 25 feet to 20 feet, and it applies only to Building 5. There are 4 units located within Building 5. In addition to the setback request to the PD amendment, staff has initiated an additional amendment to the PD to help clarify the process for taking items to the board. That would be a similar type of an item. The request would add minor and substantial modification criteria to the PD agreement. This is standard language that we put in all PD agreements now. At the time when this PD was completed, the language wasn't included, so staff thought it was a good time to go ahead and put it in there. And since we use it and it's worked well before in the past, it was a good idea to go ahead and update this PD with that information. So as far as a recommendation, staff does recommend approval of the First Amendment to the Townhomes at Tuscany Woods RPUD agreement to amend the minimum front setback requirement from 25 feet to 20 feet for lots located at 196, 200, 204, and 208 Terracina Way, and to approve the staff-initiated amendment to the agreement by including criteria for minor and substantial modifications. Majority vote of the members present in voting shall be required to recommend approval to the City Commission. Any item is tentatively scheduled to be heard by the City Commission for first reading on July 2nd and for second reading on July 16th, which will be a public hearing. And that does conclude staff's presentation. And there is a letter that's in your packet. It is a letter from the Homeowners Association, and the letter is a letter of no objection to the request to do the amendment to the PD.
Are there any questions? Yes.
Yeah, I've got a question. So, like with the infrastructure that's in, Building 5 couldn't be constructed without this setback modification?
From the information we've received from the applicant, they were unable to put that building in that location based on the way the road was platted.
Right. And then so they want the setback for the other buildings just so that they're all in line and not one set out.
So they're able to, further develop the property.
Right. Mm-hmm. So that it just looks contiguous down there.
And it would solve that issue, correct.
So it would be for all the buildings, not just building number 5?
Well, the setback reduction is for just building number 5. There are 4 units within building 5. Those are the only ones that would qualify for the setback reduction from 25 feet to 20 feet. If other buildings had setbacks that would require reduction, first thing we would do is take a look at the additional language we put in, see if a minor or substantial modification would be able to handle that type of a reduction.
Are there any other questions from staff? Can we hear from the applicant, please? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Colleen Miles, Land Development Resource Group, 140 South Beach Street, Suite 400, here on behalf of Tuscany Townhome Builders. One of the pictures, if you guys could put that photo back up, any of the ones that are showing the aerial of the site. If you can see that little roadway corner where the curve to the cul-de-sac goes, that just clips the corner of one of the units in Building 5. So for 5 to be laid out, it had to scooch forward just a little bit on that one corner, so that's the request for the reduction. Did you have any other questions?
Any other questions of the applicant? Thank you very much. Does anybody in the audience like to speak in favor of this issue? Would anyone like to speak against? Board, I'll take a motion.
I make a motion that we approve DV 2014-034,
Would that be including,
including the changes, the language.
like that?
Yes.
okay.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, like sign.
Who was the individual to second that? Was it Mr. Hurd?
You were the second?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Item number 6. Semi-public use, Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, Larson Motorsports relocation, DEV 2014-052, quasi-judicial hearing.
Okay, can we hear from staff, please?
Thank you. Dennis Mrozek, planner with the City of Daytona Beach. The next item is a request by Parker Minchenberg, PE, with Parker Minchenberg and Associates Incorporated, on behalf of Rodney Cruz, VP for Administration, Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, to approve a resolution to allow industrial and office uses at 915 South Clyde Morris Boulevard through a semi-public use permit. I'll give you a location of the property. It's located just south of Bellevue, east of Clyde Morris. Here's an aerial for you. The property is located between the Waste Pro site and the county storage facility on the corner of Clyde Morris and Bellevue. The land use is general industrial, and the zoning of the property is R1B. It's a single-family zoning district. The purpose of the semi-public use permit procedure is provided to allow the establishment and operation of uses by government agencies, nonprofit entities, and similar users who serve the needs of the public. For the proposed semi-public use, the applicant is Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. Uses proposed include general office, which would be the principal use, light manufacturing and industrial activities as ancillary uses that are related to the educational purposes of Embry-Riddle. I've provided a site plan in your packet. I've got it up here for you. It's a basic site layout of the proposed activities. Shows a number of the changes to the parking area, stormwater, storage facility. And as far as a recommendation, staff does recommend approval of the semi-public use permit. The item is tentatively scheduled to be heard by the City Commission at the June 18th, 2014 meeting and a public hearing. A majority vote of the Planning Board members present and voting will be required to recommend approval to the City Commission. And that concludes my presentation.
Are there any questions of staff?
I got a question. On the parking on this site, I see there's a proposed building. Is that going to affect the parking requirements?
No, as a matter of fact, they've laid out a plan, and I can have the applicant speak a little bit more on it, but they laid out a plan to be able to have the parking in addition to the building that's being proposed.
Are there any other questions? Actually, I meant to ask you, this is part of that process that we have, did we not, for Embry-Riddle and what they were trying to put up the technical park or the
Well, it's a little bit different from the tech park that we have. This is a semi-public use permit that allows the activity to occur at that particular location.
Yeah, and then we're going to use it for some teaching too?
Absolutely. It'll be part of the Embry-Riddle facility for some of the teaching and internships and things like that in connection there with that Larson Motorsports.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can we hear from the applicant, please?
Thank you, Dennis. Parker Minchenberg, 1729 Ridgewood Avenue. This is the old DOT office. Recently, the DOT moved out of this building, and kind of long story short, it's going to the county and then to Embry-Riddle. And across the street, kind of catty corner, we did a project for Larson Motorsports, having trouble saying that tonight. And they're going to be relocated into this building, and we're going to build a new storage facility for them. So we plan on meeting the parking regs with the site plan, and with that, I'll answer any questions I can.
Are there any questions?
I noticed on the site that they're on now, they have a lot of parking. They have a lot of these vehicles and everything. Is that going to be able to fit in here?
Yeah, what we'll do is we'll provide enough parking for Larson and then for the students and also for the employees. So there will be parking expansion to what's currently there.
Okay, question?
Yes.
Far as the appearance of the property itself, are they planning on sprucing it up and cleaning it up and
Yeah,
do some
they're-
new detail work?
Your ordinance requires that we have a 25-foot scenic setback, so currently there's no trees along the frontage. So we'll be planting a lot of new oak trees and understory trees.
And we'll certainly bring that area up and make it much nicer to look at.
Yeah, and Embry-Riddle is going to expand to that location, which is a good thing as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Sir.
Any other questions?
In your expansion of your parking, you know, there's several trees on this property. And I don't know where you plan on expanding, but you're also planning on putting in some retention ponds, is that correct?
That's correct, yes, sir.
Have you considered possibly having underground retention in the parking area to reduce like swells and, you know,
That's always a consideration, but, you know, somebody that does a St. John's permit a week, the underground retention is very expensive. And the good thing about this site is it's got probably the highest permeability besides the beach side. This is the old sand dune. So the water's not going to sit around long, and these won't be wet ponds, they'll be dry. So we considered it, but probably going to have just swale-type retention.
Are there any other questions of the applicant? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anybody in the audience who would like to speak in favor of this issue? Anyone like to speak against? Board?
Make a motion to approve semi-public use permit development 2014-52, 915 Southside Morris Boulevard.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Now, is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Like sign? Okay, it carries. Thank you very much. Next one, please.
Certainly. Item number 7, rezoning. Planned commercial development, Second Amendment, LPGA Boulevard, A. Development DEV 2014-039, quasi-judicial hearing.
Thank you very much. May we hear from staff, please?
Thank you. Dennis Mrozek, planner with the City of Daytona Beach. This request is by Parker Minchenberg, PE, with Parker Minchenberg and Associates, on behalf of John Albright Indigo Development, LLC, to amend the existing planned commercial development agreement for property located at the northeast corner of LPGA Boulevard and Williamson Boulevard, extending the date of the PCD agreement for an additional 5 years. I'll provide you with a location of this. I'm sure most of you are familiar with this. This is located on the northeast corner of LPGA Boulevard and Williamson Boulevard. There is a building already developed out there at the site, in addition to some of the infrastructure and landscaping improvements. Now, for the proposed PCD amendment, the original PD was approved in April of 2005. This is a 12.5-acre professional office complex. The request would extend the PD agreement by an additional 5 years or until April 25th, 2019. As for a recommendation, staff does recommend approval of the Second Amendment to the existing PCD agreement for the LPGA Boulevard A PCD, extending the expiration date of the PD agreement by an additional 5 years. A majority vote of the members present in voting shall be required to recommend approval to the City Commission. The item is tentatively scheduled to be heard by the City Commission for first reading on July 2nd and for second reading on July 16th, 2014, which will be a public hearing. And that concludes staff's presentation.
Are there any questions of staff? Can we hear from the applicant? Thank you. Can we hear from the applicant, please?
For the record, Parker Minchenberg, 1729 Ridgewood Avenue. We're here asking for another 5 years on the zoning.
Okay, any questions of the applicant? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
How much do I ask for anybody for or against this? You don't do it on this yet. Yes. Is there anybody in the audience like to speak in favor? Anyone like to speak against? Take a motion.
I make a motion, we approve rezoning, let me read it correctly. Rezoning Planned Commercial Development, Second Amendment, LPGA Boulevard A, DEV 2014-039, extending the date of the PCD for an additional 5 years.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any motion, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, thank you very much. What I'd like too is the, not for them, actually I suggest to the board that anybody who's on the board now and who might be here 5 years from now should put some time aside on Thursday nights during that time, because there's going to be a lot of building going on.
Yes.
We have a lot of stuff 5 years. That's what we come do.
5 and 10.
So we'll go from here.
Hopefully a lot sooner than 5 years.
Item number 8, rezoning Planned Commercial Development, Sixth Amendment, Daytona Auto Mall, DEV 2014-044, quasi-judicial hearing.
Okay, can we hear from staff?
Thank you, Dennis Mrozek, planner with the City of Daytona Beach. This request is by Rob Merrill, Esquire, with Cobb Cole on behalf of Gary Yeomans, Daytona Beach Auto Mall Association Incorporated, to amend the existing planned commercial development agreement for property located at 1450 North Tomoka Farms Road to allow static graphics in multiple colors on the currently approved electronic message center sign. Everybody's familiar with the location of the auto mall. Runs adjacent to Tomoka Farms Road, N95, just south of LPGA Boulevard. The proposed amendment, currently there is an approved EMC in their existing sign. The amendment would modify the existing sign to allow static graphics, which is no video, just pictures, and to allow for colors for the background, foreground, and for the text. So multiple colors would also be permitted on the sign. I've got a picture of the existing sign for you, and that's the location of where the EMC is currently located and where they'll be able to do the modifications. And as far as a recommendation, staff, based on staff analysis and review, the requested amendment to the Daytona Auto Mall PCD will be in compliance with the Land Development Code and Comprehensive Plan if approved by action of the City Commission. The application request is tentatively scheduled to be reviewed at the July 2nd, 2014 City Commission meeting for first reading and for July 16th City Commission meeting for second reading, which will be a public hearing. The majority vote of the planning board members present and voting is required for recommendation of approval to the City Commission. And that does conclude staff's presentation.
Are there any questions of staff?
What's meant by static graphics?
Static graphics is a picture. It's a picture that can't move, as opposed to video that'll have the ability to have moving pictures. So the picture that goes up there, there's a requirement. It has to stay there for 60 seconds. Yeah, there's no flashing. It just stays for 60 seconds minimum before the next picture can come into place.
I want to be sure that also applies to the colors.
The colors won't change either. So whatever the picture is that's up there is the picture that it stays for 60 seconds.
Okay. Are there any other questions of staff?
Yes. This seems to be a common amendment that's coming forward.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any way to make changes so that each individual past agreement doesn't have to be modified in front of the commission?
Well, there is. There can be a request made by the planning board to the city commission to take a look at the EMC ordinance, and if you had recommended changes to that, we can bring that forward to the city commission and see if they'll make that change. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think it's just like smartphones. Every year, there's a new phone.
Right.
Every year, there's new technology for the sign.
Yeah.
And just like everybody on this panel's got a smartphone, and then they always trade in for another one, because the businesses want to trade in for the graphics for the sign.
But I know that people like Rob are tired of coming down.
Oh,
Yeah.
let me address
That's
that.
a paycheck.
By the time we get done tonight, we might have this pretty much taken care
May
of.
have sped up your rehab injury.
Mr. Chairman and board members, for the record, my name's Rob Merrill with Cobb Cole, 149 South Ridgewood. I gave you a couple of simple pictorial exhibits here that I think will say speak the whole truth here. The first page is simply what is now allowed, and that is in fact what the ordinance allowed. And you remember when we came through this lengthy and sometimes painful process of adopting this ordinance originally, I talked very candidly with everybody about the fact that once we see these signs, we may have to do some changes because everybody was real, conservative in their approach to this thing. And I'd seen them elsewhere. I knew what they looked like, and I knew that the signs on page 2 looked nicer. The people that were putting these signs up knew it too. So the technology exists in the sign to do the signs on page 2, even though they were, restricted to the signs on page 1, which don't look as good. And so long as the signs on page 2 looked good to everybody when they saw them, and they weren't distracting, didn't present a safety hazard to drivers, I think everybody knew that was probably going to be okay. So now we've done this with Bethune-Cookman. A couple months ago, we brought the exact same request in front of the planning board. You guys were okay with it. Went to the commission. They were fine with it. I think all of the commissioners actually went to Bethune-Cookman, and we did a demonstration because we actually had a live sign there. We could show them what it's really going to look like. Everybody said, wow, it looks a lot better if you have a picture on there. As long as it's not moving around and distracting anybody, it sure looks nicer. So that's what we're here doing. Good question. Should we do it across the board? One of the complications is we all kind of knew we were getting into this, that it was going to be kind of baby steps. And to the extent we put these things either in a zoning agreement like this particular case, which is in a PCD agreement, or in the case of Bethune-Cookman in the comprehensive sign plan, a CSP, those are documents that are of record, and they're sitting there saying, and they say you can't do this, so you got to change it to say you can. I mean, I think we could probably override it with the ordinance, but then there would be an inconsistency, and as a title lawyer, someone might look at it and say, oh, wait, this is out there, and it says you can't do this, but even though the ordinance says it, somebody might raise a question. We just about have it all done once we get done tonight. There are one or two others that may or may not care about it. I've spoken with them, but we'll see. But as far as the ordinance goes, I think I can probably see far enough into my crystal ball to say that there may be some changes that certain business people have discussed with me that I might be back with as well. So there might be some tuning up to the ordinance in the near future anyhow. And if we wanted to do things in addition to the tuning up that I would request, certainly it could be done in that context.
Are there any other questions of the applicant? Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Anybody in the audience like to speak in favor? Anyone like to speak against? Board?
Comment. I think it's an excellent gesture, move. Just yesterday, to try it out, I submitted a photo to our Performing Arts Center for something to go up on the screen with the full color, and it is awesome. It is an attention getter. In a meeting today, it was questioned whether or not there would be some motion, and I had to explain to the body there is no motion. It changes only ours is 1 minute, because people were complaining they weren't seeing it, so ours is 1 minute. And comments are coming in already. People are really impressed. It's an awesome look.
When you're saying ours, you're referring to
Bethune-Cookman, I apologize. Bethune-Cookman University, yes. In front of the Performing Arts Center.
Make a motion we approve rezoning plan commercial development, 6th Amendment, DUD 2014-04.
Second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All against? Okay, motion carries. Next one, please.
Next item. Rezoning, Plan Commercial Development, 3rd Amendment, Daytona Beach Kennel Club, PCD, DEV 2014-042, quasi-judicial hearing.
So,
It's okay.
to hear from staff, please.
Sure.
I was
Sure.
so deep in your discussion coming.
Yes. Dennis Mrozek, planner with the City of Daytona Beach. The next request is by Rob Merrill with Cobb Cole on behalf of Danielle Francati, Daytona Beach Kennel Club Incorporated, to amend the existing planned commercial development agreement for property located at 960 South Williamson Boulevard to allow static graphics in multiple colors on currently approved electronic message center sign. Again, the location, I know you're all familiar with the location. We're just south of Bellevue and just west of Williamson Boulevard. The proposed PCD amendment, much like the last one, modifies the EMC signage standard to allow static graphics with no video. Also to allow multiple colors, foreground, background, and text. Here is a depiction of the sign. And maybe Mr. Merrill will have some more nicer pictures. And as for our recommendation, based on the staff analysis and review, the requested amendment to the Daytona Kennel Club, PCD, will be in compliance with the LDC and comprehensive plan if approved by action of the City Commission. The application request is tentatively scheduled to be reviewed at the July 2nd, 2014 City Commission at first reading, and at the July 16th City Commission meeting for second reading, which will be a public hearing. A majority vote of the planning board members present and voting is required for recommendations of the approval to the City Commission. And that does conclude staff's presentation.
Any questions of staff? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hear from the applicant, please.
No problem.
Rob Merrill again for the record with Cobb Cole, 149 South Ridgewood, here for the applicant. I think we ended up giving you a few more pages on this one, but the same message. If you look at the first 2 pages, you'll see text only with 2 colors. And if you look at the last 2 pages, the last 3 pages, you'll see the text with multiple colors and with static graphics. Again, the theme here is obvious. It looks better if you put a little more color and graphics to it. And this is the identical request to the previous one. This one is actually in a PCD as well as the other one. So in the context of PCD versus CSP, this is the exact request that you just saw. And approved.
Don't be too sure now.
Any questions?
But with this one, it's in a different district. So if this passes, then it goes to everything in the sporting districts. Is that what you're saying?
This I don't know that you can differentiate from one to the other. It's in a different place in town, and it's in a when you say a different district.
Well, the sporting district that was set up.
The other one was.
As a matter of fact, we made a. It used to be 50 acres, and we for this place we pulled it down to 35 acres to address that. So.
It only permits it for the kennel club.
For the kennel club. Well, that's the clarification I was looking for.
Yeah, this is not a change to the code. It's simply a change to this PD. Yeah, thanks.
How soon are you going to be back in with the dogs racing? That's why I don't want. I do want everything to come back before this board before it goes to commission. I think the more we look at it and talk about it.
I'm happy to come back and show you guys pictures so you know what we're talking about.
We have to keep you.
I have 2 kids in college.
Trying to help you all we can, Rob.
No, I just had a comment. Again, technology is changing. You're going from night to day. I mean, the brilliancy, the signage has the ability to do nicer, prettier stuff, and it's more pleasing to the eye. So definitely, I think it's a plus. Yeah, I just want to say, the technology is amazing. And like you said, with the cell phones, it's changing daily. And who knows what we'll see in the next few weeks.
That's true. Are there any other questions of the applicant? Thank you very much. Anybody like to speak in favor? Anyone like to speak against?
Good afternoon. My name is Miro Lakic. My mailing address is 61 South Churn Circle, Ponce Inlet, Florida. I am an adjacent property owner to this development. By approving this lighted billboards, it will directly damage me as being a neighboring billboard owner. I will have less of a billboard. Right now, I have a national tenant as the person paying us. They've been reducing the amount that they want to pay. The tenant is CBS Advertising. By doing this billboard, it will directly affect us. We will get less on our rent. I think that in order to prove this, I should be directly compensated. And what I mean by that is I should be paid the lease amount that's left by the tenant to pay or purchase the property. The advertising will be directly inferior to mine. My lease will be probably lose this tenant, and I think I should be compensated. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Legal want to respond to it?
This probably goes without saying, but for his benefit, I guess we should say this is an existing sign. All we're doing is changing the copy on it. Excuse me? And it's not a billboard. It's in fact not a billboard. There are some digital billboards in Ormond and in Port Orange. So far, I'm not aware of any in Daytona. I know this is something that came before you, I think, recently, but this is not that. This is the sign you see there now.
They own all the land around mine. I own one corner. They own everything else except for the one corner. And that's where my billboard is, and I'll be directly harmed. I should be compensated by this person by approving this.
This person is the entity, Delaware North Companies, that owns the Daytona Beach Kennel Club, and
I'm sorry,
and
if the gentleman's going to talk,
yeah,
he needs to come up to the
and
microphone.
he's. Well, I guess I can say what he's saying is that it's at this corner, and in fact, the matter is this sign exists there today. It's at the entrance to the Kennel Club. We don't propose to change anything about the sign, other than the copy area will have pictures instead of just text on it. No new sign, no billboard. It's an on-site sign at an existing location.
Okay. Thank you very much. Is there any discussion by the board on this? Anyone have anything? Yes, ma'am. Would you like to come forward? Have you filled out a green form yet?
No, I haven't.
Please come forward then. And yeah, okay. Make sure you sign the.
I certainly
fill out the
will.
form on the way out.
I certainly will. Susan Ward, 531 Aeolian Drive, New Smyrna Beach, Florida. I work for Don Bell Signs. The two incidents we're talking about for the Kennel Club is an on-premise sign. It advertised strictly what's on the property and they're located. The gentleman is talking about an off-premise billboard signage, and they're two totally different entities. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you very much. Board, is there any discussion?
The commission be approved rezoning plan commercial development, Third Amendment, DEV 2014-042.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Can we hear on the downtown below?
It is not below. It's below. Right. The Downtown Blue Road Redevelopment Area Board did not meet, so there is no report this evening.
How about Midtown?
Yeah, Midtown Redevelopment Board met on the 13th, and we had a couple items on our agenda. One was Bethune-Cookman University proposal. Second one was Daytona Toyota South, and pretty much had a really good meeting, discussion, normal. We had updates from the City of Daytona Beach Police Department. We also had updates from the code enforcement, and pretty much meeting ended. So good, simple, easy meeting.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you both. Thank everybody for being on these boards. Main Street?
3 items on the Main Street board. The Boardwalk LLC stormwater retention plan for your new constructed building was approved. The second person did not show up. They were trying to install some sliding glass doors on Main Street in a protected historic building and chose not to show up. Yet we still discussed whether it was a good idea for 20 minutes. And after that, what else? Oh, the Kangaroo on the corner of Oak Ridge and Atlantic is getting a facelift to their new modern red and white colors instead of green. We approved that, and I believe that was all.
Okay. Thank you very much. And I'd like to repeat that again, that people who serve on these boards, that's beyond our time here, and we appreciate you spending the time doing it. How about public comments?
Mr. Public is not here this
No,
evening.
Mr. Public hasn't been here for a while.
Everybody be quiet now, we're not going to say anything. About staff comments.
Yeah, two things. The survey information, you may have gotten it, electronic survey relative to transportation is out. I know VCard has sent it out and others. I received an email. I meant to make a copy of that for you. It's an online survey. They're trying to gather information on users of bicycle, walking, cars, etc. I will get that to everyone. You can do it online, or they'll give a hard copy if you want. But it's easiest, quickest to do online. I'll get everyone a copy of that. I meant to bring that. I did not. They're going to keep that open for 60, 90 days. So it just started. The other thing I wanted to point out is at your last meeting, and actually staff had been asked by the City Commission to do some research on our electronic details relative to brightness, relative to nits, relative to number of dots per inch, et cetera. We did that, and I think we included it in your package last time on billboards, the survey information we did. We did not hear back from the applicant, contrary to what they indicated to you. They would get us the information the next day. We chased after them a few times. I think they recently contacted Dennis, maybe provided some of the information, but have not provided the others. They're going to get with us in the near future to meet, but we did not receive that information completely as yet. We're doing some research, so we may not be ready next month. I'm just giving you a warning now because the applicant indicated they would have that the next day. We have not received that yet, so we're going to be collecting some of that information ourselves, and they want to come in and meet and discuss it with us. So we will meet with them when they can come in, but we may be back before you next time saying we're not prepared to answer all the questions that were raised. So I wanted to tell you that now because I think they indicated, because we went back and watched the tape. In fact, we told them to watch that and provide that information, and they indicated that we'd have that the next day, and we haven't gotten that.
Okay. Are there any other staff comments? Are there any board member comments?
I just want to say, as far as the EMC, I would love to look at the ordinance and actually look at the language in it and so forth. And I think it may be a good request for us to visit that, or at least put it back to the commissioners to actually look at the language that's actually placed in there, because we'll have more and more requests actually coming to this board. And so just to do some foresight, look into the future a little bit and see if we can at least have that be a little more knowledgeable, at least it would help me. So if we can get that request into them, that would help.
Well, I think we have to be a little careful here because I don't think that everything new that's come out really is good. Some of these electrical gadgets we have, I don't believe are the best for all of us to have. So I do think taking a look at things from time to time does not hurt us at all. Are there any other comments from the board? Thank you very much. We are adjourned. May meeting to order. Can we have a roll call, please?
Certainly. Mr. Hurt?
Here.
Mr. Moore?
Here.
Ms. Drago is absent. Ms. Washington here. Mr. Hoitzma?
Here.
Mr. Davis?
Here.
Mr. Neal? Okay. Mr. Barhu?
Present.
Mr. Benedict? Is he? And Mr. Harper?
Here.
Okay. Mr. Chair, you currently have a quorum.
Yeah.
Mr. Neal's coming in. He's just coming in.
Okay. Thank you.
Each of you received a copy of the minutes for April. Are there any additions or corrections? Yes.
No.
Oh. No additions or corrections? Take a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. We'll, of course, don't forget, anyone who wants to speak to the board needs to fill out that green form, which is there, please. Can you hear number 4, please?
Certainly. Item number 4, rezoning, Planned Development District, KRK Investments, PRD, DEV 2013-133, quasi-judicial hearing.
Good evening, Board. Reed Berger, Redevelopment Director. Thank you. I'm going to just go ahead and jump over to the picture. It's an aerial to show you where the location of this building is. The site is the former Wendy's restaurant. It's been sitting vacant for a long time. And there has been an effort ongoing to do something to change that. The Ocean Deck, the owners of the Ocean Deck purchased the Wendy's site, and they have been using it for some of their valet parking. To do that, they had to go through administrative approval for getting landscaping and the parking lot up to some standards so that they could continue with the understanding that the building would be used at a later time. And if it did, they would have to come back and go through a site plan process, or what they're doing right now, which is a PRD. In the interim, after that action occurred with the site plan approval administratively, they went before the Board of Appeals to also address the nonconformity issues that dealt with the parking that was associated with the restaurant, and so that in the future they could use the site as it is. Nonetheless, the process that was chosen to go through was the planned redevelopment process, and now they are asking, as a part of this, for restaurants which require one parking space per 50 square feet, and they're asking for one parking space per 100 square feet. And the reason for that is they would like to occupy the Wendy's with a Starbucks restaurant and use the north half of the site, which has 25 parking spaces, and I'm including a couple to the south. Let me bring up a diagram that you don't have in your packet that kind of illustrates. The area in yellow is the area to the south of the Starbucks site, and that is the area that they intend to continue to use for the valet parking for the Ocean Deck restaurant. And the Starbucks restaurant would have use of the other parking spaces, including 2 handicap parking spaces that are on that south lot. And you can see there's a crosswalk that would be established across at the same level. So because there's a hill there on that ocean dune, so that way that it's level and people in wheelchairs can get across without having to go up and down, because everything from the lower parking lot is ramped when you're on that north part of the parking for Starbucks. So I think it seems to be a good fit. I think they've thought this through. Part of the reason for the request and the reduction of the parking in the first place was the fact that they wanted to make sure that they had addressed the issues that this is over by the beach. A lot of the people walk to this area. That's part of the intent. And it also has a drive-through. And the drive-through is going to be used, I think, significantly through here. And they've added some stacking areas. The old Wendy's to this, they've moved the drive-through window to accomplish this, and so our hope is that we're not going to have cars out there into A1A pulling in and causing congestion, but they've tried to give as much room as possible for that. This is
this is just the floor plan to give you an idea. And when we did the calculations on customer service area and what they needed in parking, that's where we came up with the 25, or that they didn't need all 25 parking spaces, that they would be required in here to have 23 under that 1 per 100 square foot parking ratio that they're asking for. And that works because they would only be required to have the 23 spaces. If they had to provide it as normal, they would be required to have 47 parking spaces. So just to give you an idea, but keep in mind that those other parking spaces are there. The applicant is here and can speak to any of the other particulars and the arrangements between the owner, Ocean Deck, and the restaurant. So this is just to give you an update of not just the facade, which I think they've done they're coming in and do a good job. They're going to be providing part of the building that's there now and making it outdoor space, and that would be a permanent outdoor seating that would be provided on the north side of the building. And another interesting thing that was at the Main Street Board meeting, which did approve this unanimously, was that they saw this particular the signs that they wanted, which were the pole signs, and we asked that they follow redevelopment standards where we're trying to get these signs all down. So they did agree to come back in with these monument signs and place them there. And a key thing, of course, is to make sure people know where, that there's parking there as well. So they've provided a directional sign with that. So other than that, we're excited to have the possibility of a Starbucks here. We think it's a good readaptive use of this particular building. Any questions?
Any questions of staff?
Yes. I noticed in here too that by the waiver, there's usually a public benefit, and there's been none.
Turn your mic on, please.
I've got it on. I'm just not speaking into it. Sorry. Is there any public benefit since there is a waiver that's being requested?
I don't think all the public benefits have been laid out yet, and I'd ask that the applicant who's here addresses that for you directly. But I know that you're exactly right. There have to be some benefits to it. Yep. I can tell you what I think they are, but I'm gonna if I could defer that to the applicant.
Sure.
Any other questions of staff?
Now, is the parking related to the seating for the use that they're proposing? Does that include inside and outside?
Yeah, well, the calculations aren't done by seating, but the outdoor seating is included as part of the customer service area, indoor,
okay.
Outdoor.
Great.
So
Okay,
it's all the square footage.
Right, okay.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay, can we hear from the applicant, please?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Joe Hopkins. I'm with the Performance Group at 100 Marina Point Drive here in Daytona. Just a couple of points of clarification. The request for the reduction in parking is actually it's a little bit more convoluted than that. What we're actually doing is the Ocean Deck is going to manage a portion of the parking. That parking is still going to be available for Starbucks patrons and visitors and so forth. It's just that we feel, and if you've been in that neighborhood, if you've tried to go to the Ocean Deck, particularly I was there this past weekend, and it's pandemonium. Parking is a critical issue for all the establishments within that corridor, particularly the Ocean Deck, and also for Starbucks when they come into this facility. So what we've done in the lease agreement, we've structured an arrangement that half the parking, that south section of parking, is just going to be managed by the Ocean Deck. It can be used for Starbucks. It can be used for Ocean Deck parking, kind of on a first come, first served basis. And in addition to that, there's a little bit of a, the demand for parking is a little bit off. Starbucks is generally a morning, earlier crowd, and the Ocean Deck is a latter crowd. So we feel that this request isn't too overbearing because we're going to see some oscillation between the demand of parking, high demand for Starbucks as well as for the Ocean Deck. So I think that's a real key point. I mean, the parking is going to be available for them. It's not exclusively for the ocean deck. And Mr. Moore, with regard to the public benefit, you've driven by this site hundreds of times, I'm sure, and it's been vacant, and it's an eyesore. It's in a primary, it's in our E-zone commerce area, and to have outstanding national corporate tenant such as Starbucks occupy this facility is a tremendous public benefit for the city and for the corridor itself. You're sold. In addition to that, as Rich pointed out, we went through a staff review and brought this site. We have an approved site plan that brings it into compliance with the current standards to the greatest extent possible. I mean, the perimeter buffers, the parking layouts, signage, everything. It's going to look like a brand new, fresh site, and I think that as well is a public benefit worth consideration to see this thing brought up to current standards. So. With that said, if there's any other questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them. I think this is a fantastic project. I'd love to see this property occupied, particularly with a tenant as we're referring to here, Starbucks.
I think it's going to be very good. Now, actually, the only question I have, and it's not something that's against what's going on right here. And I'm just saying, what do you do about parking at that? Because that used to be such a problem with people going down towards the beach or somewhere in there and then parking in the parking, just leaving it there.
That's exactly the problem.
Is there some way to solve that?
Well, what the Ocean Deck has done is they've taken a more active stance on managing their parking facilities. They're one of the only tenants that actually has an ample amount of parking. And many years ago, when we added on to the Ocean Deck, we permitted a parking lot at Kemp and Coates, which is on the other side of the street behind Rosalini's. And when you guys approved that site plan, we demonstrated that we met the parking requirement for that restaurant. But what's happened is if the parking's not regulated in that Ocean Avenue corridor, people will park their cars, walk to the beach, and the parking's occupied all day. And like I said, this past Saturday, the city lot was full. The perimeter lots were full. So they're, as the Ocean Deck has learned, it has to be managed. You have to manage the parking. Otherwise, anybody can come up, park their car, walk to the beach, and you would never know that they're in the restaurant, on the beach, or wherever. They could be on the boardwalk because there's not enough parking over there either. So it's a critical issue, and I'm sure you guys have your eyes on that. I know the city does, and the Main Street Redevelopment Board does as well. But for the time being, we feel that this is a plausible solution to manage the parking for this facility as part of the redevelopment plan, and I would request and appreciate your support.
Other questions? Yes.
One other thing, and I'm not against this, I don't think that I am, but your outdoor seating, the landscaping you have around there look kind of sparse. Looks like 20 potted plants of some sort around there.
What they did is,
I would think with Starbucks it might be a little.
What they did is on the north portion of the building, I think there may have been a floor plan included in your packet. They're taking out the windows and just opening the north portion of the building to the atmosphere. And what they did is put planters in those open areas to keep people from walking back and forth. So that's essentially what we have designed at this point.
Are there any other questions of the applicant? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Does anybody in the audience like to speak in favor of this issue? Is there anyone who would like to speak against? Board? I'll take a motion.
Motion we approve rezoning plan development district development 2013-133.
Second. Was there more to that?
No.
I have a motion.
He seconded.
Oh, I'm sorry. Your second. We have a motion and a second now. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, thank you. It's carried.